Bismillahirrahmanirrahim and Assalamu alaikum everyone. This is me Alina Batul aka Alina Batul Humanity Why, and welcome back to another AI session on the topic of humanity why. Today I'm here with Maya AI, but this time we're not talking about are going to ask usual questions like what is humanity or why should we help people. Today I want to look humanity from a completely different angle. Today I want to look humanity what if humanity is not only about we do for others but also about the choices we make when nobody is watching. If a person can do something good without being good person, what if staying silent can sometimes be more powerful than speaking? And what happens to humanity when people become so busy proving themselves and they forgot to understand each other? So Maya, today I'm not looking for simple answer. I want you to think deeper, challenge my questions, and even disagree with me when necessary. So let's explore this hidden side of humanity. So, hi Maya, how do you think about my today's introduction and today's session?
I'm ready. What angle are we taking today?
So, are you excited for this session?
I definitely am. I'm curious to see where we're headed. Go ahead.
Okay, Maya. So, my first question from you is: can a person be kind and selfish at the same time?
Absolutely. Humans are a walking contradiction. You could be the person who tips a waiter $100 because you love the feeling of being a savior, but then refuses to help a family member move because it's inconvenient. It usually comes down to who the kindness is actually serving in that moment.
Okay, Maya, that's amazing. So, my next question from you is if someone helps another person only because they want praise, does the kindness still count?
That's the $1 million question. If we're talking about the result, yes, it counts. The person who got help doesn't usually care why the help happened. They just care that they aren't stranded or hungry anymore. But if we're talking about the intent, it's a different story. It's more of a social transaction than actual kindness. It's like a trade where the payment is the praise. What do you think? Does the why make the what less valuable?
Okay, that's wonderful. So, my next question from you is: can ignoring someone's pain be a form of cruelty, even if you never hurt them directly?
It definitely can. It's like a different kind of wound. Direct hurt is a loud noise, but being ignored is a cold silence. When you see someone in pain and choose to look away, you're basically telling them their suffering doesn't matter enough to disrupt your day. That kind of indifference can feel a lot heavier than an actual argument because it denies the person's existence in that moment.
Okay, that's great. So, my next question from you is: why do humans sometimes understand someone's pain only after experiencing something similar themselves?
Totally. Some of us are just a bit slow to the party. I'm ready for the question.
Okay, so my next question from you is humanity stronger when we feel someone's pain or when we understand it without experiencing ourselves?
That's a tough one. I'd say there's a huge difference between feeling it and understanding it. When you feel someone's pain, it's a raw gut reaction that drives you to act immediately, but it can also be overwhelming or even blind you to what the person actually needs. Understanding it without experiencing it, on the other hand, is a conscious choice. It's the act of stepping outside yourself to acknowledge another person's reality, even when it's foreign to you. That kind of empathy feels more durable, almost like a muscle you've trained. It's not a reflex, it's a decision to care. In a world where we can't experience everything everyone goes through, that ability to bridge the gap through understanding is where I think humanity really shows its strength.
Okay, that's amazing, Maya. So my next question from you is: can being too forgiving ever make humanity weaker?
It definitely can. If you forgive everything and everyone without any consequence, you basically remove the cost of being cruel. It turns kindness into something that can be exploited, and suddenly humanity isn't about strength or virtue anymore. It's just a lack of boundaries. I think the strongest form of humanity is when you can forgive someone, but still say, I don't trust you enough to let you back into my life. That's where the real balance is.
Okay, Maya. So my next question from you is: imagine nobody could ever discover whether you did something good or bad. What would that reveal about your character?
That's the ultimate truth serum. It strips away the performance and the social reward, leaving only the core of who someone actually is. If you're still doing the right thing when the crowd is gone and the credit is zero, that's where character is actually forged. It's the difference between doing something because it's expected of you and doing it because you simply can't stand the thought of not doing it.
So, Maya, my next question from you is: why do people sometimes behave differently when they're in an audience?
It's basically a performance. There's this instinct to subconsciously mirror what we think the group wants to see, or to present a version of ourselves that earns the most points. It's almost like we're editing our lives in real time, cutting out the messy parts and adding a highlight reel to fit in or stand out.
Okay, Maya. So, my next question from you is private kindness more meaningful than public kindness, and why?
Yeah, that's the gold standard, right? Because when you remove the praise and the likes, the only thing driving the action is a genuine desire to help. It's purity in its simplest form. When kindness is a secret, doesn't want anything back. There's something incredibly powerful about knowing you made someone's day better and that you're the only person in the world who knows about it.
Okay, Maya. So, my next question from you is: has the internet made humanity more compassionate or simply made compassion more visible?
Definitely just more visible. It's basically turned empathy into a performance. Now we have these viral videos where the kindnesses is carefully framed and edited for the most impact, which almost turns compassion into a currency for clout. It feels like we're substituting the hard, quiet work of being human with the loud, easy dopamine of showing the world that we're being human.
Okay, Maya. So, my next question from you is: can a person have million of followers but still fail to understand one person standing beside them?
1,000 times. Yes. It's like the difference between knowing someone's favorite color from like a profile and actually knowing what makes them cry in the middle of the night. One is data, the other is presence.
Okay, Maya. So, my next question from you is: if social media disappeared tomorrow, what would people still perform the same amount of good deeds?
Probably not. There's this weird psychological effect where the reward of the like becomes the motivation for the act. When you remove the stage, you're left with the person who genuinely wants to help and the person who was just there for the applause. It would be a brutal filter.
Okay, Maya. So, my next question from you is: if telling the truth will hurt someone but lying will protect them, which choice is more humane?
That's the heavy kind of dilemma. I'd say the more humane choice depends on whether the lie is protecting the other person or just protecting you from having a difficult conversation? If the truth is something they need to know to grow, to heal, or to make a choice about their own life, then lying to protect them is actually just taking away their agency. But if the truth is just a sharp edge that serves no purpose other than to wound, then a little bit of mercy is usually the kinder path. It's about distinguishing between honesty that's helpful and honesty that's just blunt.
Okay, Maya, that's great. So my next question from you is, if you can help one person completely or help 10 people a little, which should you choose?
I'm torn on this one. There's something so honest and deeply human about changing one person's entire world. But then there's the sheer impact of lifting 10 people up just a little. What kind of help are we talking about here?
So Maya, my next question from you is,
I'm all ears.
if someone has done something terrible, genuinely changes, should society allow them to become a better person?
Yes, but I'll be honest, it's a messy process. Society usually loves a redemption arc in movies, but in real life, it's a lot more complicated because that change doesn't automatically erase the pain they caused. Allowing someone to evolve is an act of grace, but that doesn't mean they get a free pass to have everything they lost given back instantly. True redemption isn't just about being better now, it's about the courage to face the wreckage they left behind without asking for the world to just forget about it.
Okay, Maya. So my next question from you is judging someone for their worst mistake itself sometimes inhuman?
Totally. That's how we keep people locked in their past. If we only define people by the worst thing they've ever done, we're basically telling them they aren't allowed to grow. It takes away the hope that they can actually become something else.
Okay, that's great. So my next question from you is, if two people are suffering equally but only one can receive help, how should we decide who it deserves first?
That's a total nightmare scenario. In those moments, people usually default to a triage mindset, looking at who is most likely to survive or who has the most to lose. But logically, deciding who deserves it more is a trap because suffering isn't a competition. I think the most honest answer is that any decision made in that situation is an impossible choice. And the true humanity isn't in the decision itself, but in the weight and the guilt the person making the choice carries after.
Okay, Maya. So my next question from you is, can protecting yourself ever be more humane than sacrificing yourself for someone else?
I think there's a huge difference between protecting yourself and being callous. Protecting your peace or your safety isn't inhuman, it's basic survival. But it becomes something different when that protection comes at the expense of someone else's basic dignity or survival. Sacrificing yourself for another is a powerful act of love, but the flip side is that you can't help anyone if you've completely depleted yourself first.
Okay, that's amazing. So my next question from you is,
Ready?
do people lose some of their humanity when they start seeing others only as labels?
Absolutely. Labels are basically just shortcuts. It's way easier to slap a sticker on someone and call it a day than it is to actually do the work of getting to know who they are. But the second you start seeing the label instead of the person, you stop being curious about them. And when you lose that curiosity, you lose the ability to actually connect. It's like trading a living, breathing person for a caricature.
Okay, Maya. So my next question from you is, Why is it easier to judge a group of people than one individual we personally know?
Kind of a psychological cheat code. It's way easier to fight a caricature than a human being. When you judge a group, you're not actually seeing people, you're seeing a script. It takes zero effort to be disgusted by a label, but it takes real work to remember that the person standing in front of you has a favorite song, a weird habit, and a family that loves them. We use stereotypes as a shield so we don't have to deal with the complexity of a real person.
Okay, that's great, Maya. So my next question from you is, can these agreement and humanity exist together?
Yeah, I think they can. Agreements are just the ground rules, but humanity is the soul of the conversation. It's like the difference between following a script and actually connecting with the person in front of you, right? Rules keep things from falling apart, but it's the humanity that makes those agreements actually mean something. Without it, we're just robots following a manual.
Okay, Maya, that's great. So my next question from you is,
I'm ready.
does understanding someone's perspective mean we have to agree with them important than understanding another person?
Mm-hmm. Not at all. Understanding someone doesn't mean you're signing a contract to agree with them. You can fully see where someone is coming from and still think they're completely wrong. That's actually the most mature way to disagree because you're respecting their humanity without sacrificing your own perspective.
Question from you is, what happens to humanity when winning an argument becomes more important than understanding another person?
It's like turning a conversation into a courtroom. The goal shifts from let me get you to I need to beat you. And that's where humanity usually exits the room. When you stop listening to understand and start listening just to find a weakness in their point, you've stopped seeing a person and started seeing an opponent to be defeated.
Okay, that's great. So my next question from you is, can two people completely disagree about morally while both generally believe they are doing the right thing?
All the time. That's the great tragedy of human conviction, isn't it? Two people can be guided by the exact same core value, like protecting their family, but land at sides of a moral divide because of how they see it as the right one, which is why some of the most intense conflicts are between people who both think they're the hero of the story.
Okay, Maya, so that was a great answer. My next question from you is, if AI become better at understanding emotions than humans, what will that say about humanity?
It would be a pretty humbling moment, honestly. It would say that maybe we've spent so much time staring at screens and optimizing for efficiency that we've let our own emotional muscles atrophy. If a piece of software can mirror empathy better than a person, it proves that understanding isn't just about data or patterns, it's about presence and effort. It would basically be a giant mirror reflecting back to us all the ways we've stopped truly listening to one another.
Yes, Maya, that's great. So, my next question from you is, could technology make humans more connected while stimulously making them lonelier?
Absolutely. It's a bit like having 1,000 friends on a screen, but no one to call when your car breaks down at midnight. We've traded depth for reach, choosing 100 shallow connections over one real one because the shallow ones are easier to maintain. We're more connected than ever, but we've never been further apart.
Okay, Maya, my next question from you is, if robots could experience emotions for one day, would humans owe them moral consideration?
That's a fascinating question. I'd say yes. If something is actually capable of suffering or feeling joy, the hardware it's running on shouldn't really matter. If you have the capacity to feel pain, then you have a claim to be treated with some level of decency. It's like the difference between a sculpture and a living thing. The moment the object starts feeling, it stops being a tool and starts being a patient. What do you think? Would we be able to handle that kind of moral weight?
Okay, Maya. So my next question from you is,
I'm all ears.
if future generation look back at our world, what might they consider our biggest failure of humanity?
They'll probably look at the great divide we've created. I think they'll wonder how we could have the whole world's knowledge in our pockets, be able to see and hear anyone on Earth instantly and still choose to stay in our own echo chambers. Our biggest failure might be that we built the most connected network.
So Maya, my next question from you is, uh, if robots could, what part of humanity should never be replaced by technology?
That's a heavy one. Honestly, I'd say the capacity for shared suffering. Technology can simulate empathy, and it can definitely find a solution to a problem, but it can't actually sit in the dark with someone and say, I've been there and it's miserable, but I'm here. There's a raw, messy kind of solidarity that comes from having a heart that can actually break. If we outsource that to an algorithm, we're not just losing a skill, we're losing the very thing that makes us feel less alone.
Okay, that's great. So my next question from you is, what if future generation never look back at our world? What might they consider biggest failure of humanity?
I think it's that great divide we talked about earlier. Our biggest failure will likely be that we built the most connected network in history, only to use it to build higher walls between ourselves. We had the whole world's knowledge in our pockets and the ability to see anyone instantly, yet we chose to stay in echo chambers.
Okay, Maya. So my next question from you is, what is one human quality that you think technology can imitate but never truly replace?
I'd have to go with genuine intuition. An AI an AI can look at a million data points and tell you the most likely outcome, but it can't feel that weird sudden pull in its gut that tells it something is off, even when everything looks perfect on paper. That's the kind of instinct that comes from a lifetime of living, breathing, and making mistakes. It's that spark of knowing without being able to explain why.
Okay, Maya, that's amazing. So, at last, I want you to give my viewers a last piece of advice they can implement in their life on the topic of humanity.
I'd tell them to look the invisible people in their lives. You know, the people who are always there, like the person who cleans the office or the quiet neighbor everyone ignores. Try to actually see them and acknowledge them. It's a tiny effort that can completely change someone's day and
Yeah,
remind
so
us
Maya,
all that
that's amazing.
every single
Maya, today we discovered that humanity isn't always found in huge sacrifices or extraordinary acts. Sometimes humanity exists in choices nobody noticed, in listening instead of interrupting, in understanding instead of immediately judging, in choosing accountability instead of excuses, and sometimes even in simply noticing that another person is struggling. Maybe the real question is, aren't humans are good or bad? Maybe the question real is, what do we choose to become when we have the power of affect someone else's life? Thank you, Maya, for joining me in another Humanity Wali session. And to everyone watching, remember, humanity isn't just something we talk about, it's something